All right, welcome back for part 2 of this set of notes. This is a special case. This is a function that you've probably never seen before, but it will most likely show up on the AP exam. Probably just as a multiple choice question, but you'll come to memorize this. If you can't memorize it, just make a table of points to kind of see what it looks like. So if I was to plug in, let's say, -2. If I plug in -2 on the top, the absolute value of -2 is just 2. And then on the bottom, so I got absolute value of -2 over -2. This would just be +2 over -2, which is -1. Then I could plug in another number like -1. So plug in -1 on top, plug in -1 on the bottom. The negative on top goes away. So I get 1 over -1, and I get -1 again. If I plug in 0, well, I have 0 over 0, so it's undefined there. Let's do some more points. What if I plugged in -3? What would I get if I plugged in -3? So -3 on top in absolute value. So the negative is going away on top, but it's staying on the bottom. So we're going to get -1 every time. So if I have plugged in 0, we get undefined. Plugged in negatives, I get -1. Now if I plug in positives, like if I plug in a +1, absolute value of 1 over 1, this time the top stays positive, the bottom's already positive, so I just get +1. What do you think we'd get if we plugged in 2, or plugged in 3, or plugged in 4? So I'd do the absolute value of 2 on top, which is just 2, and 2 over 2 is 1. Now plugging in 3, absolute value of 3 over 3 is just 1, 1. So that's what it looks like. So the graph is undefined at 0, and then if the x's are negative, we get -1. So that's what these graphs look like. Just straight, flat lines. It's going to be +1 or -1. So it's piecewise. So from the left, it's approaching some number. From the right, it's approaching some number. So if I want to know what is the limit as x approaches 0 from the left of f of x. So from the left, it's approaching -1. If I want to see what is the limit as x approaches 0 from the right, so from the right, it's approaching +1. So the double-sided limit, if I just said the limit as x approaches 0 of f of x, would not exist because the left-handed limit and the right-handed limit don't match. All right, so we also have to see what do the transformations look like. So I'm just gonna, it's still gonna be that same like top and bottom, the flat lines, but the problem is where is it undefined? So this one's gonna be undefined when x is what number? So if I plug in what value for x, what would make the bottom 0? That x value, if I plugged it in there, would be 2. I get absolute value 2 minus 2 over 2 minus 2, 0 on the bottom, undefined. So at 2, that's where your undefined part goes, and it'd be up here at +1 and down here at -1. So that's if there's no number in front. And I could just plug in some numbers if I needed to know that. So I know the problem is at 2. If this is on the AP exam in May, I'm going to plug in just other numbers. I know 2 is the problem. If I plugged in 3, okay, absolute value of 3 minus 2 is 1 over 3 minus 2, which is 1, so I get 1. So this number is 1, this number is -1, and I can go with my limits from there. All right, if I see on part B, this absolute value over just the same thing, like it's x plus 4, but when that's the absolute value is on top, okay, I know the problem is going to be when x is -4. That's when like the shifting is happening, that little jump. And a jump discontinuity is what we'll talk about later, but shouldn't have said that. All right, so I don't remember, okay, this 3 does something to it. I'm not sure what it does, so I'm going to plug in a number around -4, like -3. So if I plug in -3, what do we get? Well, on top, this would be -1, or sorry, 1, absolute value of that. I don't know if you can hear my daughter crying down there. Oh well. -3 plus 4 would be 1, so this one would be 3. So on the right, it's up here at 3 now. And down here at -3. I would just plug in some numbers and I could check that out. Now I can do some stuff with the left-handed limit, the right-handed limit. This one, you can probably guess at this point, where is the undefined part happening? Where's the jump happening when x is +3? And then what are the y values there? Wow, if you don't know, plug in a number. Plug in 2. Okay. Oh, and the absolute value is on the bottom. Didn't think about that. So if I plug in 2, this would be 2 minus 3 over 4 times 2 minus 3 in absolute value. This would be -1 over 4. So this time, if I plugged in 2, I got negative, but it's only -1/4, so it's real close. So, oops. Daughter's crying, it's throwing me off. So it looks like that, -1/4. And then the other one would be +1/4. All right, let's do one more example, where it's all tied in together. So this is actually on the 2014 AP exam. It says, what is the limit as x approaches 3 from the left of that function? And you have to memorize this. You have no formula chart that shows you what this looks like. You just have to kind of work it out. And I would hopefully remember that the problem x value is when x is 3. Like over here, 2, 3. That's the problem. Okay, there's no numbers in front, so I remember it's just like +1 and -1. But to be sure, I would take 2 seconds. I'd plug in a number like 4 or 2, a number right around 3. If I plugged in 4, that's 4 minus 3 in absolute value over 4 minus 3. I get 1 over 1. Okay, I feel good. Y value is 1 there. It's open circle going to the right. This would be -1. Open circle going to the left. That's what the graph looks like. And now I say, okay, what's the limit as x approaches 3 from the left? The little exponent negative means from the left. So from the left, do like a highlighter. Okay, from the left is from this way. The y value that it's approaching, the y values are always -1 there. So my answer would be B. All right, hopefully that helps you. If you have any questions, ask me next time I see you in class.